This program is produced using the resources of Public Media Network in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Learn more at publicmedianet.org.
Hello, welcome to Connecting Communities, a project of the Kalamazoo Earth Day Committee and supported by the Public Media Network. My name is David Benac, co-host today. With me is Joe Byars.
Hello.
And we have two guests from Kalamazoo Nonviolent Opponents of War. Got to get you both just introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Daniel Smith, co-chairperson of KNOW.
I'm Saeed AbuBakr. I'm currently professor of chemical and paper engineering at Western Michigan University, and I am with Daniel with the collective leadership of KNOW.
Great to have you with us today.
Yeah. Good to be here.
Just to start us off, what is Kalamazoo Nonviolence of War? What is the organization?
Well, the organization was started in 2002 as a response to the impending invasion of Iraq. And so we weren't able to stop that, but we've stayed together in the 21 years since then. Our claim to fame is if you go down by the Federal Building on Sunday mornings, we're there from 12 to 1. We've been there every Sunday, except one time when there was a thunderstorm between 2002 and now and today. And today, we're very concerned about what's happening in Gaza, of course. So that's what we were standing for peace these Sundays, since in the past several Sundays. From at noon, we gather for an hour for peace. And so our goal is to cut the military budget. Defense spending is just going insane. $1 trillion that we're spending on the military, if you add everything together. So along with that reduction of military is a just foreign policy. So, and one of those things is solidarity with people that are on the receiving end of our military budget, including the people of Palestine. So we have a working group on the solidarity with Palestine. So we've been doing many things with that.
The other group is against nuclear
as well.
weapons.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we recently we had a billboard calling for the abolition of nuclear weapons. You may have seen it. It was out on Stadium Drive, saying that we need to abolish nuclear weapons. And we had we're working with Back from the Brink campaign to have the United States sign on to the treaty. There's an international treaty on the use of nuclear weapons, which the U.S. None of the countries which currently have nuclear weapons has actually signed the treaty. But it's a treaty that's signed by something like 130 countries around the world.
Wow.
But not the, I think there's 8 nuclear armed countries. Mm-hmm. So we want to at least get the U.S. to move in that direction, take steps. Maybe it can't be done overnight because of some concerns, but it can be, move in that direction. At least that the Biden administration or will say that this is the direction we want to go to, not where we are now, where it's it's a dangerous world where in Ukraine you have 2 nuclear armed countries basically facing off, which there could be a mistake and then that's it. So those kind of weapons should not exist.
Yeah, it's really scary.
Yeah. So that's a big issue we're working on, as well as one of the things that you wanted to talk about was the war and the war environment, the war and the environment, the war economy and the green economy, and how preparing for war is keeping us away from a green economy. I mentioned the $1 trillion that we spend, which is, if you add in the nuclear weapons, which aren't even in the defense budget. The nuclear weapons are part of the Department of Energy. So all these things that are part of war are not even in the defense budget. And of course, all the veterans and what it costs, which anytime you send somebody to war, you should take care of them, and we're not doing a good job of that, but all of those expenses aren't part of the defense budget. So if you add everything in, it's $1 trillion. And just think what we could do with the $1 trillion.
Yeah.
How many solar farms we could have, how many wind farms we could have, how much mass transit we could have, bullet trains, we wouldn't have to.
How many people could be housed?
Exactly.
Well, of course, yeah, right. Yeah, so.
And how much better the food infrastructure could become.
Yeah, and healthcare too,
Right.
I mean, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're really being shortchanged. We're sold a bill of goods, and so it's a difficult message. Particularly, it's hard to get anything passed in Congress because every congressional district has a defense plan of some kind. So if a congressperson votes against the defense budget, his opponent will say, "Hey, you're cutting jobs." So pretty much they're guaranteed to vote for the defense budget. It's like a bipartisan
Oh yeah.
vote. Not only all the resources that are wasted building the defense budget, but also maintaining all of these military installations around the world. Just I don't know how many we have now, 700 or something.
Yeah.
Military bases around the world, and how much resources that takes, and then every installation is a polluting installation. I mean, that's one reason why we have PFAS problems in Michigan, because of using PFAS type chemicals in military installations for putting out fires and things like that. And so then it seeped into the groundwater, and now we're drinking it. So.
Yeah, the United States military is one of the biggest producers of carbon. When they were shipping the Abram tanks to Ukraine, I heard several different reports that those tanks go through 60 gallons of fuel an hour. I mean, that's a lot
of fuel.
Lot of carbon.
Yeah, a lot of fuel coming out of the ground, a lot of oil coming out of the ground, exactly. Yeah.
I would like to add about KNOW that it is consists of volunteers mostly. They're taking time away to do this volunteer work.
Yeah.
And the common denominator is people who believe in social justice for all and for peace and fairness in the world. So I started my activity or activism with KNOW about 4 years ago at a vigil, and I met Dan, and really it did appeal to me significantly, and I since then been active with the group.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you're saying about PFAS and the dioxins from Agent Orange in Vietnam. One of the things that most people don't realize is so there's a lot of dioxin contamination still in Vietnam from that, but the most heavily concentrated areas aren't places that were sprayed. They aren't places in the river. They're where the U.S. military bases were. And the reason is because that Agent Orange came in 55-gallon steel drums. And every single one of those had to be dumped out and poured into something to be dispersed. And if you watch, you can see the images of the storage fields. It's acres, literally acres of barrels piled up and piled up. And just think about the bottom of the milk jug every time you pour it out. Not everything comes out. And so all those fields, acres and acres of 55-gallon steel drums, all have that left in there, and it's left behind, leaks out on the ground, And so there's massive dioxin contamination, which leads me to something I really wanted to bring in for our conversation. The U.S. use of Agent Orange in Vietnam led to the creation of a new term, ecocide. And it's now become a term of real relevance because it's being talked about at COP28 a lot. So ecocide is basically massive ecological crime committed by a nation, usually against another nation. And so the U.S. using Agent Orange, just poisoning
for defoliants.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now Ukraine is raising charges of ecocide against Russia for primarily for the large dam that Russia bombed. There's also other countries, in Yemen, in South Sudan.
Well, as of today, Israel,
And in Gaza.
4,000 bombing raids being done in 2 months. And every bomb is 2,000 pounds. We do not learn from our mistakes in the past. What is the impact of this 10, 20, 30 years from now?
And even not that, but all that bombing has destroyed the infrastructure in places where it was already tenuous. So people don't have water.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, especially in places like Gaza or Yemen or South Sudan that were already hard hit for water. It's the ripple effects of those conflicts are killing, tens of thousands of people.
I get some numbers here from Euromed Human Rights Monitor about the impact for the last 60 days on Gaza. We heard in the news about over 20,000 people killed, and majority of them are children, and 40,000 injured. At the same time, we have, where is the hospitals? There is a number of hospitals here. 265 schools damaged, 462 health facilities targeted, and about 1.84 million people displaced, 60,000 houses destroyed completely, and 170,000 partially destroyed, all these houses, And as you said, also the water and the electricity and the medication and all of that disaster is kind of break my heart.
Yeah, not the water table is just totally polluted because of the previous bombings, and then not the Israeli blockade, which has been going on 14 years, I think, not letting equipment in to repair a lot of the water treatment facilities.
They bombed the water treatment facility.
The desalination
and
facility.
Sewage is on the street very much,
So, no water, no food because there's complete blockade, no food, no electricity, hospitals, no health care. So, just from a strictly environmental standpoint, not thinking of even the people, so much debris just everywhere. If Israel stopped bombing tomorrow, it would be a huge effort to rebuild and do something with all this debris and all the contaminants from all these weapons alone.
Just remind me of Netanyahu at the United Nations when he brought the map. The map he brought does not have Gaza at all. So it's predetermined. They were just waiting for something to do this. The plan was ready to go, but they were just waiting for something to trigger this aggression.
Yeah, regards the war in Gaza. they said it was their 9/11. And it seemed that when we invaded Iraq, which was what started KNOW as an organization, it seems later we found out that 9/11 was an excuse because they wanted to invade Iraq. So it's a good opportunity. You know, they needed like a Pearl Harbor moment that they could use to set their plans up to invade.
But I would like to add that, you know, this conflict did not start October 7. It started 75 years ago. And my family is part of it. My parents were kicked out from Haifa in 1948. And their story is, you know, it's already third generation. My grandchildren can tell you the story, how my father was kicked out, his cousin was shot dead in front of him because they did not follow direction to go to the port of Haifa to ship them to Lebanon, and only men they took. So the women and children stayed at home, and the men 2, 3 days, 4 days did not show up home. They thought they're dead, you know. So they started walking to the safety place. My mother walked 20 miles with 3 children just to go to a village where her parents lived, you know, to secure a place for her children. And this is 75 years, but the last decade, you know, Israel has been building settlement, settler violence. We've seen pictures, even though main media does not show so much, but lately with social media you can see how settlers can go shoot at a young boy or a man, older man. One of them was American citizen recently, and get away with it. And then we say that we shared value with the government of Israel. What value are they talking about? So all of this detention, you know, thousands of people are in prison without any charge. That's not shared value with our value at all. They're demolishing of housing. You know, if you go to Beit Salem, which is a Jewish Israeli organization that documents the demolishing of houses, Palestinian houses, you see thousands and thousands of them where the family get few minutes or maybe 1 hour to gather their stuff, then a huge bulldozer come and destroy their house in front of their eyes. I was telling my wife, can you imagine this, our house, somebody come and just destroy it, you know, what to do? You know, all of this discrimination and ethnic cleansing. I just would like to say that if people want to know more about it, go to the literature. You know, there are literature available there that you need to go and find it, like Noam Chomsky book, Ilam Papi about ethnic cleansing of Palestine, Michael Pillid about the son of general. You know, these are people who woke up and saw the treatment of Palestinians, and they stood and they start, you know, speaking about it openly. So when they call it 9/11, I laugh. You know, it's not like 9/11 at all. The 75 years of 3-4 generation been suffering. Take Gaza, for example. Gaza population, 25% of Palestinians who kicked out of their homes and villages in 1948, 25% of them went to Gaza and live in refugee camps. So when you hear Jabalia today, you know, they're destroying Jabalia today. These people are 3-4 generation refugees where they left their homes and towns and farms and life and culture and history they left behind, and they're even, you know, already multiple times. That is not first time Israel goes to Gaza. First time was in 1956, and Ariel Sharon was the head of the group that invaded Gaza in 1956. And he did 2 big massacres, one in Khan Yunis that we hear about today, and one in Rafah also. A total of over 3,000 people, majority men and children, were killed. and they get away with it. They keep doing it and doing it and doing it. In 1967, there was no Hamas in 1967, and Hamas started after the Intifada, and the Intifada is 20 years after 1967. People lost any hope, and the Intifada, which is the uprising, started very peaceful, but the Israeli forces were using live bullets. They were Ishaq Rabin, famous, break their bones, and so on. So, and only back then that Hamas started, at the end of first Intifada. People have no hope whatsoever. From the grandparents to the parents to the children to the grandchildren, no hopes whatsoever. The biggest open prison in the whole world, and anything we enjoy in a daily basis, they don't have. They have no hope. And they think that the whole world is against them now because they're not army. Gaza is not army. 2.2 million people. The majority, vast majority are people, not army, not at all. They don't have army. They don't have navy. They don't have airport or anything. They're just being controlled. Their life being controlled by a foreign power that want to kick them out of the land and steal their land away.
Yeah, 75% of the people who live in Gaza are descendants from refugees who were kicked out earlier and forced into Gaza. And of course, the children, 50% are children. So all these, such a horrible figures for the number of children killed. I mean, the nightmare that's happening to Gaza is just very difficult to even contemplate, because constant bombing, a large apartment building is destroyed, falls down on itself. There's no equipment to dig people out. Just imagine how many people have died just a slow, agonizing death, being stuck under the rubble, children. So that's why we're trying to do something about stopping U.S. support. Unfortunately, Biden has given full-throated support for what Netanyahu and Israel is doing.
So that's part of the problem, is that the genocide that's happening in Gaza right now is fully supported by the U.S. the U.S. If we stopped the foreign aid today, they couldn't carry on. I mean, their planes, their missiles, all their ammunition, it all comes from the United States. So, this is, our war,
I was talking to some friend today, about Israel and relate that to our kids playing soccer. I've been on the soccer field. Your son or daughter kick the ball, it goes to the right, good job. Goes to the left, good job. Goes straight, good job. And that's what we're doing to Israel. No matter what they do, either we veto or we take the stand of Israel. Even though Israel now has the most extreme racist government in the history. They openly say these are human animals. They openly say we need to kill them all. A minister in the cabinet say we need to nuke Gaza, and they get away with it. They get away with it. If this happened in Iran or China or Russia, we'll be up in arms talking about it. But because it's happening in Palestine, nobody is talking about it. Take another example, women. There are 200 children are born every day in Gaza. Can you imagine the condition of these hospitals, horrible conditions in hospitals that need to deal with body parts and all of that? And the woman has to go give birth. They all give birth at home. And many women are dying, or the children are dying from that because they don't have any medical attention. So how we can say that, you know, especially when you get famous feminists, you know, if there is one woman in Iran, they raise the hell, it will be first thing in the news and everybody is talking about it. But hundreds and thousands of Palestinian women are dying. I'll give you another story of one related to Kalamazoo. A student who was legally blind came to Kalamazoo from Gaza to do his master's in low vision and blindness and college education. He was teacher in Gaza. He finished and went back home. His home, they got the leaflets from the occupation forces to leave to the south. So he has 2 daughters and 1 son, and his wife. So they walked to Rafah. They went to first school, 50,000 people in the school, where there is no place to stand even. Other school, the same thing. They said, okay, we'll go back home. So they walked again because there is no fuel, their car cannot run. They walk again to their home. A bomb hit their home. When from the big noise, it sounds horrible, you know, so loud. The daughter, 14 years old, came and hugged her mom. And all the shrapnel got to the daughter and she killed. He got his hand very much broken, completely broken. You look at the picture, there is nothing together. His son got shrapnel in his face, and his son was born in Kalamazoo while his dad was doing his graduate work. So because of that, they have 1 American citizen. They were able to get out of Gaza recently, and they are now in Cairo, in Egypt, trying to get medical help, you know, and there is very, very little help available for them.
There is a FundMe for this family because of their Kalamazoo connections. So if you go to, probably the best way to find how to donate for this family is go to KZOO4Peace, KZOO4Peace.org, and there's a link there to if you can donate a few bucks to help the family. And actually the response has been overwhelming. Of course, they need huge amount of resources to bring them to the U.S. for the medical care that they need, but there's been so many people that have donated, and as well, if you're interested in, there's so many things we can do to stop the war. You know, you feel kind of helpless because it seems like no matter what you do, nothing happens. But if you go to KZOO4Peace.org, there's a petition there that's being put together. Just in about a week, we've gotten 250 names, and yeah, we have the QR code. I don't know if you can put this on the screen,
Found it, yeah.
but this is the QR code for our petition, which goes to Senator Stabenow, Senator Peters, and to Representative Huizenga for a ceasefire now. So you can do that. You can come and join us on Sundays. Actually, we started at 11:30 now, 11:30 to 1. And then we're speaking out at the city commission meetings. So come to city commission meetings. You can check that out when that is on the web. And as well as the county. We're starting to try to get people to speak out at the county. And then at the Portage City, speak for a ceasefire. And I think the idea is our senators and representatives are not speaking out. Our president is basically helping this happen. So maybe start with the local and move up. So we're hoping that the local governments are leading the way. In Michigan, we have Detroit has passed a resolution. Dearborn Heights, Hamtramck, and
Arbor.
I think Ann Arbor is still looking at it. I'm not sure if it's passed, but Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti. So it's and of course many cities across the country. So it's 66%, I think, was the poll numbers of people who want a ceasefire. So why?
Yeah.
Why?
And like 80% of Democrats want
Yeah.
it. And, excuse me, we can't even get really the progressive lawmakers to support a ceasefire. I mean, there's a handful of them, but I mean, like popular progressives like Bernie Sanders, he hasn't called for a ceasefire. It's really a shame.
I would just like to see people think about the reality of this issue, like the stories you're telling. That's what we need to hear, because this is not, it's not a war. I mean, it's a one-sided conflict, and the people who are paying the price are civilians, families. War is awful, and I agree with you that war should not happen, but this isn't a war. This is mass murder.
Noam Chomsky put it the best, war is between two armies. There is only one army and there is civilians, and that's what's going on very much.
And even if someone were to accept the argument, and I'll stay neutral on whether or not Hamas is a government or a terrorist organization, but even if you accepted that Hamas was a terrorist organization, that doesn't justify killing everyone in a community because that's where they look. We would not accept that from our military. In Vietnam, the My Lai massacre, when American soldiers killed villagers who were not part of the Viet Cong or part of the North Vietnamese, the American public rose up, and that was a big part of why we got to the cultural pressure to end that conflict. We wouldn't accept it from our country. We shouldn't accept it from any other country.
One of the great things that I think is that there has been a mass uprising in the United States. Other countries, I mean, cities like Berlin and London, I mean, the streets are just filled with people who are against genocide, and it gives me a little bit of hope that, there's young people getting out in the streets, because that's what we really need,
Right.
Unfortunately, the Palestinians are very pessimistic on that sense, because in the past there was some many people speaking out about the injustice and all of that, but the Western government is not willing to do anything, and Palestinian far too familiar with massacre. From 1948, Deir Yassin, they came to a town and they killed 254 people, majority children and women. Tantura just came recently that the village of Tantura was also very much, the whole town was massacred, and they built a whole new town and a parking lot over the mass grave. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, the massacre of Khan Yunis and Rafah in 1956, the Kufr Qasim in 1957, I believe. So, there's so much facts on the ground that civilians who has nothing to do with anything have been killed in a mass proportion, and the humanity of the world is just looking the other way.
Yeah, and people would say they should try nonviolent means. It was, I think it was 3 years ago, was the Great March of Return, where it was a nonviolent march just to the fence. Where
On the Gaza side.
On the Gaza side, just marching up to the fence saying this is wrong. The world turned a blind eye as Israeli snipers just picked people off.
247 people.
I mean, to me, there's a personal feeling about that because I watched this movie about a young man. He was training to go to the Olympics in cycling. Yeah. So he cycled up and down the Gaza Strip, trying to put in hundreds of miles, and the Gaza Strip is, 25 miles long. So it was kind of funny, but in a way he was going up and down, but he had determination to be a cyclist in the Olympics. He went just to watch what was going on at the Great March of Return, and they blew his leg off, a sniper. And it's so sad to see this young man, so he was cycling with one leg, his dreams just shattered. So, multiply that by 2 million, and we just have to do something. So we're doing
the Palestinian people have tried peaceful stuff. I mean, like the BDS movement, boycott, divest, and sanctions. Mm-hmm. But you're labeled a terrorist if you support that, And
there were a few movements, in the 80s and in the 90s where people were saying, okay, let's just have non-violence opposition to the occupation and all of that. They've been either deported from the country or detained and imprisoned. So the leadership disappeared right away because they became popular not only in Palestine, they became popular in the West. That these people are. This is Mahatma Gandhi of Palestine. This is Martin Luther King of Palestine. But they disappeared. They took care of them because they do not want to show the world that peaceful movement is among Palestinians. They want to have a reason to go and massacre and kill and steal more land and build more settlements. So building settlement, it makes it, again, about shared value. If you are a settler, you go by the Israeli law. If you are a Palestinian next door, first the land was stolen from these Palestinians, that they see it every day. But if a Palestinian does the same thing, he will be going to military court. And military court, 99% they go with the military prosecution, so only 1% of the time they let people go.
And of course, what happens to the kids in the occupied territories is just horrible. The soldiers pound on your door at 3 a.m. and they come and take your kid away, and interrogate him, blindfold him, some cases torture him, beat him up, and trying to get names of other kids who supposedly threw a stone or something against the tank going by or whatever. So, it's just an effort to totally make a Palestinian person living there just hopeless, feel hopeless. You can't even control your own, you don't even have control of your own doors. Your home is not your castle because the soldiers can come in any time and take your children. And then how do you get them back? Sometimes you can get them back, pay a huge fine, sometimes not, So it's just daily humiliations that we living here can't even imagine, just maybe your wife is pregnant, having a baby, you're trying to take her to the hospital and you got to stop at a checkpoint. And you're hoping that the soldier at the checkpoint is in a good mood that day so you can make it to the hospital. It's just so many things like that, people dying at the checkpoint because they couldn't get through at the hospital.
Actually, I saw that in my own eyes. About 10 years ago, I am a part of the group called Abot that we go do accreditation of engineering program in the US and around the world. So one time I got, I did about 20 universities in the US, but sometimes I get assignment to go overseas. So I've been to Turkey and Spain, and one time 10 years ago I got a job to do in the West Bank at Al-Najah University. And so our job is to go to review the engineering program like we do here, look at the curriculum, look at the textbooks, look at the faculty, qualified and all of that. But part of it, one day we were driving to work and checkpoint. we have American passport, they will let us go. There is a car next to us, exactly what you said, Daniel. She's pregnant. The water broke. She's ready to go to the hospital. And the Israeli soldier sitting there smoking his cigarette and cursing them in Arabic. I could understand Arabic, Said, I just went to him and said, I'm going to take picture of this and go back to the U.S. and talk about this. Only when I told him this, he let her go. The other woman said, please, please, she was crying. She has an exam, final exam, that she need to go. And it is less than a mile away, but it takes her hours to get there. So she was crying and begging him, please, please, let me go. I need to take my exam. He won't let her go because he's in bad mood that day.
Mm-hmm.
And all these conflicts have multiplier effects. One, the Red Cross. The Red Cross has had projects in, they just canceled all their projects in Gaza. They had several long-running projects, particularly dealing with water and food security for people in Gaza. They also have, a few years ago, had to do the same thing, cancel everything in Yemen and South Sudan. So these conflicts are hurting the people who are most vulnerable, whether they're people in those countries or just the countries that are most vulnerable are the ones who are bearing the brunt of all the stress we're placing on the world.
But in Sudan and Yemen is different, in Iraq is different,
Yes.
in Libya is different because they have country.
Yeah.
At least they have country, citizenship, they have something, but the Palestinians don't. They don't have state, they don't have country. So that's what makes the situation even worse, that you feel unprotected and weak.
Yeah, another layer of vulnerability there. Yeah.
And so you mentioned your website. What are the ways that somebody just listening or watching this, what are the first things besides signing the petition that people could do to be helpful?
Showing up on Sundays down at the Federal Building, which is located downtown Kalamazoo, the corner of Michigan and Park. And that would be helpful. And when you're there, let one of us know. We'll put you on the mailing list. We have our email list is almost up to 100 people, 800 people now, to let you know of different events coming up. So we have a group working on bringing in a lot of films to a lot of the churches around the city to let people know what's going on. A lot of people are hearing about Gaza for the first time, and so so we need to take advantage of that opportunity and show people what's going on. So we're trying to educate the public, educate ourselves, reading books. The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Pappé has been mentioned. Ilan Pappé, an Israeli historian, also has written a book. It's a little bit shorter. It's only 100 pages, but it's 10 myths about Israel. And that's, if you need you don't have a lot of time to read and you need a primer, that's a good one. 10 myths about Israel. Go to Kazoo Books or one of the other local
Chomsky is
bookshops.
co-author also.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Also, one of the chats we do on Saturday, Biden, you should note, in November, we will vote. So if you are a citizen who believes in humanities and justice for all, write your representative that about ceasefire and about justice for the Palestinians. We collected 500 signatures to limit, not to end, to limit military aid to Israel if they violate the human right of the Palestinians. We collected 500 signatures. Where we go, Daniel and I went to Hosinga's office and
We gathered them at the farmers market.
At the farmers market,
And
we go.
people were taking it out of our hands. It was very easy to gather signatures for that. People really agreed with us. We took it to Heisinger's office. He nodded, or his staff nodded politely, and he has a very polite staff. You can go to his office, located there in Portage. That's another thing. We do have a local representative for our congressional district show up in his office. It's on, let's see, Trestle Bridge office complex. It's kind of near Lloyd Norrix on Lovers Lane, kind of across from Lloyd Norrix. Go show up and say you want a ceasefire in Gaza.
And I'm telling Representative Hosenga, November is coming. All these 500 people we're going to contact, and they will go vote.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we have to say to Bill Huizenga, you're not representing us if you don't vote, if you don't speak out publicly for a ceasefire. So we need to look elsewhere.
You know, beside the 500 signatures we selected, we have a community in Kalamazoo who are Palestinian descent. We have 6 professors at the university, Palestinian American. Their kids born here and raised here. We had many doctors in town. I will name Azzam Kanaan, one of started his medical practice in 1970 here, and he did lots of contribution to the community with his wife Shadia. We got business people who are very well leaders in town, just like Hussein Judah, Deals Unlimited on Portage Road. We have many others that are really having difficult time because there is some connection. You know, I mentioned Hussein Judah. He's originally from Gaza. He left Gaza when he was 1 year old, you know, but he still have lots of relatives. He got notification from his cousins that over 100 people from his family, from Judah, killed since October 7. Just one family, Judah, because, you know, these people are refugees from 1948, so they are in very dense area and live next to each other. You know, your brother get married, you know, he's next to you, and so the family are really community to support each other. So when they throw the 2,000-pound bomb on the area, it destroyed everything, you know. And one minister in Israel was so happy that they killed one Hamas leader by killing 121 civilians. You know, what kind of logic is this? 120 ratio to 1 is really genocide.
Yeah, so many families, the entire family wiped out, and no one survived from that family name. So it just ends right there, which is, to me, that's the definition of genocide.
There's some families say, okay, let's stay together, die together. Some families, you know, you got 2 brothers, 2 sisters, whatever. They say, okay, I'll have half of your children, you have half of mine. So if your house is destroyed, at least some of us will stay alive, you know, to that point.
And writing on the kids' arms with a Sharpie, their names, so that when they're found under the rubble, they can be identified. I mean, it's beyond horrific, and you know, we just have to all speak up. We just have to speak up. So,
I believe in humanity, and I believe injustice cannot go forever. The question is just when, you know, how much more suffering the Palestinians has to go through to get to be equal citizen and to live freely just like any other people in the world.
Yeah, I mean, when will Biden finally speak up and stop sending military aid to Israel? Is it obviously 20,000 deaths isn't enough, so is it 40,000, 60,000? When is he going to do something? It's very sad. It's very makes you very angry. But we have to channel channel our sadness and our anger into action. So, yeah, contact us either by coming to the vigil, show us your ideas. We have a lot of young people. We had a walkout from the Portage Northern High School in solidarity with Gaza. So the kids get it. High school kids walked out from their classes. And they came to us and said, we want to do more, let's work together. So we have students, K College and Western, that are really want to do something. So very heartening that people understand what's going on and want to do something. So yeah, if you come to our website, you can find out there's a spot for Contact Us where you can get on our mailing list or just email us and say, yeah, what can I do? I'm interested in putting on a benefit concert for Gaza, or, I'm a dancer, I'm a singer, I write poetry, so many ways that people can help in their own way, We have people baking cookies, so we're going to have a Christmas holiday cookie sale. So for the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. So there's something for everyone. Try to no matter what your gift is, we really need you. So
I want to thank you for this friendly conversation from the bottom of my heart. Make us feel we're not alone. I thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, I really appreciate both of you guys coming.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, David.
Well, that's why we call the show Connecting Communities. Yeah, our goal, we focus around the environment, but our understanding of environment is no matter where you are, at any point, you live in an environment. If you're inside a building, if you're out in the wilderness, you're at school, whatever it is, that's an environment. And environment means we need clean air, we need fresh water, we need healthy food, and we need a supportive community around us. So we hope that people will reach out to you, join your cause, and this will be aired soon. And follow along with Connecting Communities. If you are interested in helping out with Earth Day, we are planning for next April's events. You can check out our website, KalamazooEarthDay.com, or find us on social media, let's see, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and let us know how you'd like to be involved. And until next time, thank you all for joining us.
Can I
Thanks,
add
David.
one more thing about the environment? My research is actually on paper recycling. I have published one book and written 6 chapters. I published 140 publications, not only in the U.S., in Europe, in Australia and New Zealand and other places. Paper recycling is just a way to, as you all know, to be environmentally benign about, getting less natural resources used for the industry. And our work, as Daniel said, culminated in coming up with the self-sticking stamp. The problem with the paper recycling is adhesive. Everything you add to the paper as a function become contaminant. You need to remove. So we work with 3M and Ivory Dennison and other adhesive company. They agreed that they will formulate their adhesive such that it's easy to remove it in the paper recycling process. Thank you again.
Oh, and thank you for your contributions to making us more sustainable as a society. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.